Hey class, video number 2 for our kinematics 1 week. Let's look at our 4 formulas for what I call changing velocity slash acceleration. So anytime you have a changing velocity, that is acceleration. That's basically the definition of what acceleration is. Okay, and we can think of it both ways. There's a positive acceleration and a negative acceleration. Negative acceleration would be kind of slowing down, all right, or a deceleration. So anytime something is speeding up, changing its velocity, or slowing down, changing its velocity, it has an acceleration, okay? And so there are 4 kinematics formulas that we basically always use to help us figure out any questions that we're trying to do. So here are the 4 bigger, they're on the side over there, and they're going to stay on the side over there throughout my rest of the videos. But I thought I'd make them a little bigger here and talk about them. So first one we have acceleration equals velocity final minus velocity initial divided by time. Okay, this one here we have distance equals, in brackets, VI plus VF, so velocity initial plus velocity final, divided by 2. So basically you're just kind of trying to find the actual average velocity there, multiplied by time. This one over here, VF squared, so velocity final squared, equals velocity initial squared, plus 2 times acceleration times distance, okay? Again, we got a little glare there, but anytime you have the letters beside each other, that just means they're multiplying. So just a reminder, 2 times acceleration times distance. Last formula, distance equals VIT, so velocity initial multiplied by time, plus 1/2 AT squared, okay? 1/2 multiplied by acceleration multiplied by time squared, okay? And so these formulas look a little big and scary, but after using them for a little bit, they're not too bad. Now what's basically unique about each one of these formulas, like if I were to just write down the 5 variables that we can find basically in any question, here's our 5 variables. We have an acceleration, a distance, a time. Just gonna let you know. Notice how the glare is kind of bad for what I want to show there. Let's do this. The time. You can notice how my little T has kind of a little flare there. That's because I hate that how like a time and a plus look very similar. So there's my plus. There's my time. My time will always have a little kind of curved T. Back to our 5 variables. Acceleration, distance, time, and then 2 velocities. Velocity initial and velocity final. Those are basically the 5 variables that are going to be in any question that we can kind of ask with our changing acceleration. Okay, so again, if I ask about throwing something or a car slowing down, like if I were to talk about basically, I started at Lage and Plessis, and then I started driving and I got to Dougald and Plessis, okay? There are kind of 5 things that I can think about. Well, how fast was I accelerating? How far did I go? How long did it take? What was my starting velocity and what was my final velocity? You can't really find anything else. Those are the 5 things that we actually want to find or could find through these. And so what's interesting about each equation here has 4 of your variables. So you have A, VF, VI, T. There's no distance. Okay? In this one over here, we have D, VI, VF, and T. So there's no acceleration in this one. This question, VF, VI, AD. There's no time in this one. This one, distance, VIT, A, and T squared. So, but we have no velocity final in this one. So basically each formula is missing one of the variables, which means you don't need like 4 variables to figure out any of these questions. For each one of these questions, you will need 3 variables though. 3. So basically in any single question, you need 3 variables to figure else something out. Okay, if you want to figure out a distance, you need 3 of the others. If you want to figure out velocity initial, you need at least 3 of the others, okay? And that's how we're going to be able to use these 4 formulas to actually help you figure out our questions, okay? So I don't want to go through all the crazy algebraic ways to kind of turn these around. Most of the ways that we do it is, again, the way I taught in grade 11 and the way that most of you have been taught in grade 10 or, again, hopefully even going forward, is once you find your variables, plug them in and try and move them around a little. In my next video, I may show a way to actually, like, how would you change one of these algebraically right away to get the formula that you want. But no worries about that right now. You guys have played this in grade 11, so it should be a little familiar. I just wanted to do a revamp of, again, how would you use these. Again, usually what you're always going to do for each question, you're going to basically figure out what variables you have. You're usually going to have 3 of them. And then which formula do you need to actually figure out the other one, like your missing actual variable. Okay? So there's a little overview of our changing velocity acceleration formulas. In my next video, I'm not going to go through questions, but I'm going to give a lot of helpful tips tips of like questions that could confuse students. So I'll go over a couple questions, and then I'll just talk about like how do you get variables out of these questions, okay? Because in the next, there's a lot of questions where it only maybe like shows you one variable or two variables, but you can figure out the third by just making sense of the question. And that's what my next video is going to be about. So still looking at this, but how do I actually figure out those variables? All right, class, thanks so much.